Okay, last group of muscles in the forearm. We're going to describe now the muscles of the posterior compartment of the forearm. Now, these muscles, as we described before, they are organized just like the ones in the anterior compartment. They are organized into layers. This is the deep layer closer to the bones, the radius and the ulna, and this is the superficial layer. So remember, all of them are innervated by the radial nerve. Check. All of them are going to extend something except one. So they're either going to extend the wrist or the fingers. Let's see them. So let's start with the superficial layer of the posterior compartment. So we are closer to the skin, these ones, the ones that can be felt by palpation. See that I have numbered these muscles from 1 through 5. I'll tell you later. Number 1 is the brachioradialis. Brachioradialis, we described it last week, that it is a muscle located on the forearm, but originates, I told you, brachioradialis, be careful because it's a woman. I don't know if you can recall that. And it's going to trick you. Okay? It originates on the distal end of the humerus. Okay? And is located on the forearm. It crosses the elbow joint posteriorly, posterolaterally, anterolaterally. Okay? Because it originates, this is an anterior view, and the muscle originates on the posterior and lateral aspect of the humerus. Then it crosses the elbow joint anteriorly and laterally, and inserts on the base of the styloid process. It doesn't go beyond the wrist joint. So it cannot move the wrist joint, it only moves the elbow joint. So it's a flexor. And remember, it is innervated by the radial nerve, but it's the only flexor muscle innervated by the radial nerve. So this is the exception to the rule. Now, the rest of the muscles are number 2 through 5. Let's use blue in here. This is cool. Number 2, so we have, and it's the same pattern as the muscles of the anterior compartment of the forearm. So extensor carpi radialis. Number 2, because we have 2, longus and brevis. So let me show you the next image. Okay, this is the longus and this is the brevis. Extensor carpi radialis, longus and brevis. Number 2 is longus because when you follow the tendon, it inserts in the base of the second metacarpal. Extensor carpi radialis brevis, it inserts, when you follow the tendon, it inserts in the base of the third metacarpal. See? Second, third. Cool way to remember that. Number 4 is extensor digitorum. Well, number 4, because when you follow, it's this one, this muscle in here, you follow the tendons, it splits in 4, digitorum, to insert on the distal phalanx of digits 2 through 5. And we have only one extensor digitorum, no profundus, no superficialis. And number 5 is the extensor, this one, the extensor of carpi ulnaris, that inserts on the and the base of the 5th metacarpal and in the one carpal bone in there. So all of the functions of these muscles All of them can extend the wrist because except by the brachioradialis. Okay, but the rest can extend the wrist because the tendons are crossing the wrist joint posteriorly. Extensor carpi radialis, besides extending the wrist, can again abduct or cause radial deviation of the hand, and extensor carpi ulnaris can perform ulnar deviation or adduction of the hand. And the extensor digitorum, besides extending the wrist, it can extend the fingers at the distal phalanx. Okay, now let's see the deep layer. In the deep layer, this is the way I remember. It's a supinator. Well, the correct way to, I put there supinator just to remember that this is the position supination, but my camera is covering the correct way to spell that is supination. So the way I remember this is that we have a supinator, a brevis sandwich, and then extensor indicis. What is she talking about? Sandwich. You have a delicious sandwich in here, which each bread is a longus bread, and the brevis is your filling. So you have an abductor pollicis longus is the top bread, extensor pollicis longus is the bottom bread, and the filling is the extensor pollicis brevis. Now let's see those muscles in the image in here. Okay, so this is the supinator that extends from radio to ulna, and guess what? The action is to supinate the forearm. Then you have this distally, the one going to the index finger. This is the extensor indicis and ends on the distal phalanx of the index. And then you have this group of muscles, okay? The two that are crossing the joint posteriorly are extensors, okay? So this is extensor, this is longer, so this is extensor pollicis because we go into the pollex, extensor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, and laterally this is the abductor pollicis longus. These form the anatomical snub box that we're going to describe in the anatomical surface landmarks. All the muscles that I have described in this video, all of this are innervated by the radial nerve. Now, movements. Flexion movements that we have covered today. Well, I hit the other one. Don't worry, I'll tell you. Flexion of the forearm, remember, is performed by the brachioradialis. Supination of the forearm is performed by the biceps brachii, remember last class, and the supinator. Extension of the hand of the wrist. Well, you're going to name all the extensor muscles that we described so far, which is extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor digitorum, extensor carpi ulnaris, extensor extensor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, abductor pollicis also. Look at the tendon is crossing the wrist, adductor pollicis longus, and extensor indicis. All of them can extend the hand of the wrist. Abduction of the hand of the wrist. Well, in this video we covered only the abduction, the extensor carpi ulnaris, and adduction extensor carpi radialis. I'm sorry, radialis for abduction, ulnaris for adduction. But if you put the previous video and these together, adduction or ulnar deviation is performed by two muscles, the extensor and the flexor carpi ulnaris. And the radial deviation or abduction of the hand is performed by the extensor and flexor carpi radialis. That's it, I think. Oh no, extension of the fingers is brought to you by the extensor digitorum, extensor indicis, extensor pollicis. I included already there. And the abduction of the thumb by the abductor pollicis longus. Only naming the, I'm just naming the muscles that are included in our course that produce these movements. Of course, there's more muscles. And now we're going to describe the hand, all the muscles of the hand, so brace yourself. No kidding, we're not going to cover that. Only on the hand, I just want you to know two things. This group of muscles and this group of muscles. Okay, this is the theater. I don't think I have it there. And this is the hypothenar eminence. And these are like mirror. It's like a mirror. It's a group of muscles, the same group of muscles that you have in here, the same group of muscles you have in there, but for other fingers. You have an abductor, a flexor, and an extensor in here. So thenar and hypothenar eminence. That's the only thing you need to know in here. Next video, we're going to discuss surface anatomy. See you later, alligator.